YouTube. This is Acid Roots. I'm going to review the Kanye West compilation album Cruel Summer. Now, this basically came out a year after Kanye West and Jay-Z's collaboration album Watch the Throne, and before that, Kanye West had dropped the My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy project. So Kanye had a pretty large early 2010s run, and this was something to kind of fill the gap between that and his next year 2013 album Yeezus, which was a stark departure from the stuff that he did at the beginning. Now I feel like this is kind of the signal of Kanye West kind of radical change, that he's been kind of on this same tangent since Yeezus. Like, if you like the Kanye West from Cruel Summer, it is a drastic departure from what he became just a year later on Yeezus. I mean, there wasn't really much promotion for Yeezus. It was a very minimalist project to get to know that one. But yeah, I just would have to say that the concept behind it is this is the last of like the mainstream Kanye West, where he was by the book, kind of singular and regular promotion like he was back in College Dropout, Late Registration, Graduation, 808s and Heartbreak, and that type stuff. So, uh, I mean, really, it's a traditional run, but it was just surprising. I don't know what triggered Kanye West between this album's late 2012 release date and what became of Kanye West in the summer of 2013 with Yeezus. And that's kind of the concept where, like I said, the subsequent projects that he dropped, like The Life of Pablo, Yay, and the Kids See Ghosts in some of those records, and even when he went Christian rap with like Jesus is King in some of those. I mean, a lot of the stuff Kanye West did is quite different from how he was anything prior to Cruel Summer. But this is a good album. It's decent. I definitely have to praise Kanye for doing a sheer blockade of singles that really kick ass. And I was surprised about these just because they're mainstream rap, but it just feels so strange. It's just kind of like Eminem with like Recovery and like Hell the sequel, where this was kind of the album that's indicated change, where he delved into his current tangent, with everything, with Eminem's case, everything from like Marshall Mathers LP2 forward. But with Kanye, it just feels strange. I mean, I listen to songs like Mercy and Cold and Click, and all of these are really strange Kanye West. It just feels like, is that Kanye? You think that you're kind of listening to like a ghost of his former self. And it's not to say that Kanye is any worse, but it just feels like this kind of more like introspective, thought provoking Kanye, in a sense of just like a typical mainstream rap, where he's not as radical and quite as perverse, maybe not perverse, but just like power hungry as he would be in later years. It just really feels like this is kind of a lukewarm Kanye West in terms of his appetite. That's definitely kind of the thing. It's just strange seeing that this is what Kanye West was like just back in the spring of 2012 and the summer of 2012. Just that sort of stuff. Him being on songs with Jay-Z and Big Sean and John Legend and Kid Cudi, all the folks, for the most part, he doesn't really collaborate with that much anymore. So this is definitely a different vestige of Kanye West, and it is pretty solid. I mean, I looked on information about this project, and it is said that this was basically like the second best-selling compilation album released by a rap artist, and maybe just in general as far as compilations kind of go. That apart from Eminem Presents the Re-Up, which came out in late 2006, that's the only album that did better than this project, which I think it's kind of a mixed bag to me. We'll get into that as the review goes along, but I'm glad that this project came out. But I do kind of feel like I think this album is better than Eminem Presents the Re-Up, and it's also tied with Shady XV to say that also. But I do think this is better than Eminem Presents the Re-Up, but I still feel like this project has some work to do. But we'll kind of talk about that as kind of things go along. But the first single was Mercy. This kind of has like, this just reminds me of 2012. This is the sort of stuff where I feel like the year 2012 was a very transgressional year, just a lot of differential stuff. A lot of people went in different branches and tried new things and had different archetypes and all that. But Kanye West was doing this as a posse song, has Pusha T and Big Sean and 2 Chainz on there. I really wish that Kanye would have rapped to the standard instrumental that's on the song. He kind of rapped in like the interim part leading up to 2 Chainz' verse, but it is a pretty rap. I mean, this is definitely a good posse song. It had been a while since I'd seen a posse song that charted as high as this. It's a real popular kind of song. This kind of was torn apart. Just can be heard in the clubs. I definitely feel like this is a night out kind of song. It's kind of underrated. I definitely feel like this song nowadays, when Kanye West, through all the changes he went through, it's a very underrated song, not just in a posse song, but also in a Kanye West song. Just being able to say that it holds its value in terms of being able to be a hot club song in a lot of ways. I think you can still hear this song out and about, different night venues. I mean, it may not be as lit as it was 10 years ago, but it still stands to reason that it has its charm. I definitely feel like it should, I would like to hear this getting plays in like dance clubs and night venues and pubs and that sort of stuff. This, all those sorts of things. It'd be good to kind of have this song get a resurgence. Um, The second single, which felt like just an elongated Kanye West verse, was Cold. Relatively brief, has DJ Khaled in there a little bit. But I felt like this was the better club song compared to Mercy, because this is just Kanye going in, kind of doing what he used to do back in the day. Probably one of the last Kanye songs in the standard traditional mainstream rap kind of flow. But I do appreciate it. Works as a nice night kind of song, just kind of in your backyard having a beer or something like that. Just kind of calling up your dogs, getting ready to call up the ladies, that type of stuff, having a good time. Easy kind of going. I miss Kanye West making songs like this. I really feel like this is just an easy going and just easy hit for Kanye. It's just it works so well to be able to say we should get more songs like this that have this value, because this is like an expansion of what he was like in his graduation trilogy days, and also like a little bit of like dark fantasy in there also. I just would have to say some of those kind of have that context as far as me being able to talk about it, that these are I mean, this is why I say this is a vestige of Kanye West. That, I mean, I need to listen to further Kanye West to see what he's been up to in the late 2010s, but this is something that, this is a Kanye that needs to make a return. And then New Godflow. This is not really a club song, but I really appreciated the beat on here. Probably has one of the best beats on the whole 12 song album. It really felt like a Wu Tang song, felt like a nice sample, this real piano laden beat that just was torn apart. Pusha T, Ghostface Killa, and Kanye all really tore this song apart. And to me, like I said, I don't feel like this is a club song. Don't feel like it's a night venue, but it feels like something that you'd hear at like a Barnes and Noble, like a bookstore. It'd be like some sophisticated place. Maybe you'd hear it at like some fashion store, something like that. You're taking your girl out to buy her some clothes, that type of stuff, and you hear the song playing. Something a little bit more sophisticated, not so much just like, picking up, not maybe like Foot Locker, not like Foot Locker's cheap, but just like, not just like Payless or something like that, a kind of relatively demure or tame kind of store, but something with a little bit more grace to it. Something, can't really think of clothing stores, maybe like, yeah, I buy my clothes online, but just to kind of say, just a place where you find some fancier stuff, just to kind of be able to say, but that's just kind of the context there. And I feel like Click was a great song. Like the fourth single, Click, I feel like this is a great song. Click is definitely has Jay-Z and Big Sean on there. It seemed like Big Sean was showcased in a lot of these singles to kind of get him going, because he used to collaborate with Kanye a lot back in those days. But I do kind of feel um, like Jay-Z really tore this song apart. I definitely feel like he should have been on this project a little bit more, at least an extra verse, because I felt like Jay-Z and Kanye doing their Watch the Throne type stuff like they did in the past was great. And this just has an excellent beat, real nice, kind of slinky club song. Just like they all tore it apart. This is an actual song where you want to hear these guys rap well on it. You pay attention to Jay-Z's flow, he tears it apart. Kanye has a braggadocious rap on there. Big Sean can trip you up with this, how snakish he was on that song. So it's just, there needed to be more songs like this song. This is definitely like an easy club cut, easy kind of night out, night venue, kind of Friday night kind of cut that there just needed to be more of. I just kind of think that that's kind of the routine about it. But all four of the singles kicked ass. That's definitely a good bravado about this. But like I typically say about Kanye West albums, I don't know what it is about Kanye when he gets to like the third and fourth and sometimes fifth single as to why sometimes it feels like the album cuts are underwhelming. I didn't used to notice that about Kanye West. I kind of felt like there were some album cuts, at least on like the College Dropout and Graduation, where he would have those to kind of fill the gaps, where it's not just, even if he makes it to the fifth single, he has some of that. But apart from like the song Bliss, which is a really excellent R&B flavored song, as John Legend and Tiana Taylor, which Tiana Taylor's kind of a newbie at this point, but they did great. I mean, Tiana Taylor had a real synthy kind of melody on there, and John Legend, I forgot how good a vocalist John Legend can be. I need more songs like that, and he needs to collaborate with Kanye again. They need to rekindle things and get more songs like this. Because John Legend doesn't always do kind of up tempo and kind of more contemporary R&B, but when he does, he's good at it. He has this sophistication, this Barnes and Noble kind of vibe about him, that when he does that sort of thing, it really shines through. And it's like, he just didn't have enough songs to really get that going, but this is definitely one that does. And the only other song out of the 12 on here besides Bliss that I enjoyed that's an album cut is just Higher with The Dream. Like, I felt like The Dream, I'm glad that he went first because he definitely showcased some stuff. This is a good example of another R&B song that worked real well. But there needed to be some other mainstream rapper. Like, I feel like Pusha T is good, but he's really like a super hardcore rapper, and Mace hasn't been on a hit song since like the late 90s. So it just felt like kind of an underwhelming song to not have someone anchor this song down. It just felt like this was easily just kind of strictly an album cut. Like, I feel like 2 Chainz should have been on here. And that's another weakness of this project. Like, some of Kanye West's proteges or newcomers and that type of stuff, like Travis Scott, 2 Chainz, and Kid Cudi, all really have weak cuts on here. Like, I felt like Creepers with just Kid Cudi just felt like a gotta get it somehow kind of hustle song, and kind of like I gotta make it, gotta keep going kind of song, that just the production just really kind of lured me away. I wasn't too motivated by that song. And then 2 Chainz' cuts, like him being on The One and him being on The Morning, and some of those I really was looking for, because 2 Chainz is a pretty capable lyricist, but he just didn't have the correct songs with his Dirty South kind of vibes to really shine through. It just felt like he is a good match for Kanye West styled things, but they just put him on some bad songs. They really should have had like a southern cut to really showcase what 2 Chainz was trying to do at that time. And Big Sean got some good shine on here, but even so, I mean, it's yeah, I mean, Big Sean was about the only real one that I felt like out of all these new cats and compilation that was supposed to shine through. I really felt like they got the proper. Is everyone else? I mean, Pusha T was on some good songs and showcased that he's quite lyrical, but he just didn't quite get a breakout song. I mean, he was on Mercy and he was on New God Flow, but yeah, I still feel like it was kind of tough to differentiate him to kind of get him on some hits. I just wonder if he would have done as well on these songs if Kanye wouldn't have been on there. It's just like Kanye and Pusha are a good combination, but Pusha probably should have had a hit song that would have been as good as like the Kanye songs just with only him on it, which we didn't really get a chance to apart from Higher, which I still feel like needed an additional kind of anchored rapper. So that's just kind of the thing. The rappers that were supposed to come up just didn't get a good enough track record. And like, I feel like some of the R&B ones, like To the World, I really would have liked for that production to have been better. I felt like if they would have just gone for something contemporary, if we would have gotten R. Kelly on like some Thoya Thoing type vibes, or something that he could do like his songs, like I forget, like I'm a Flirt, something like that. I just feel like Kanye was kind of aiming for like some scaping kind of vibes here. There's a lot of moments that are just a lot more scaping and kind of broadcasted, and I feel like he should have centered it and kind of had the same hit potential that he had for like Mercy and Cold and Click and some of those. I mean, it's really, I don't know, there's a lot of moments that just don't really stand strong as far as album cuts. Like, there's just how many on here. Another weak point was Don't Like, which was basically a remix of a Chief Keef song, but this really has an ugly beat. I know there's probably folks that did like this song and felt like this is one of Chief Keef's breakout songs, but the beat is just so plotting and kind of unmemorable in a lot of ways. I mean, these rappers went in on it, but I just don't know why they went to that trouble of going in on a song that just was really strictly just supposed to be a street single that was just playing probably just because of the title of the song and the chorus that was catchy more so than anything else. And that's just kind of the concept behind it. I felt like Kanye probably could have picked a better song to have signified from Chief Keef, but that's just kind of the concept. There's just a lot of these that don't have like enough catchiness, and especially without Kanye on there, or someone like Big Sean didn't really get a song on his own to stand to give him something to perform without Kanye. He was basically just Kanye West's wingman throughout this album, so he didn't really get a song on his own, and there wasn't enough to really stand for that. I felt like these songs probably could have been delivered better, but most of these just had like multiple verses, and they didn't quite have the lacing together that it needed to. I mean, Eminem was pretty good at this, but I don't know. I mean, compilation albums can kind of be a problem just because if you don't get the correct kind of layering together or trying to do some of these, it kind of comes off as like a lot of people probably just won't give these songs the time of day. But the problem with it is like, you feel like you need 2 Chainz on a song. It's like, yeah, 2 Chainz should have been on a song with a hot beat, and it's like, well, where are the instrumentals that you just want to hear get torn apart? And why was Kid Cudi with his hit record, and after being on songs like Day and Night and some of his better sing-songy beats where he kind of does like the Drake thing, why didn't he have a song like that? I mean, I don't know where Creepers came from, just didn't have any hit potential. There's just a lot of moments where I think Kanye, after how many hit albums that he's delivered, could lace these projects a little bit better. I mean, it's not to say that like it's bad, but it's just kind of questionable choices as far as like the songs that are supposed to showcase these folks to kind of get them more shine. I mean, not every single one of the musicians on here didn't have shine when it came to this record, but a lot of them, if they had nailed these songs on this album, probably would have given them like an extra kind of imbuement that probably would have helped them a lot further. I think that it would have just been an interim to say, Big Sean just dropped an album in 2011. Some of these songs could have given people some docking time until his next album next year with Hall of Fame from 2013. So that's just kind of the concept. But I mean, the only real person that pulled off that imbuement that I was talking about as a docking point was just Kanye. None of these other folks. I mean, Pusha T kind of did it, but he didn't really have a song on his own without Kanye that really did it. And there's just the execution of this was kind of C-list, C-minus list. It was just kind of a little bit beneath average, a little bit kind of slight in a lot of ways. But there are some hit songs, but most of them have Kanye. I feel like even the song Higher with The Dream, Pusha T, and Mace, I mean, I, for the most part, can see myself after the Dreams verse just kind of skipping to the next song. I mean, I do like Pusha T. He did pretty well, but it's just not a song that's as addictive as like Bliss was. So that's really kind of the concept. But so I'm gonna go ahead and list the 6 songs out of 12 I recommend to you. So Click, Mercy, Cold, New God Flow, Higher, and Bliss. Those just really happen to be the things. Half the project. So I'm gonna give this album a straight 5 out of 10. Just because I'm going to give this record a straight 5 out of 10 because it's middle of the road. I mean, I feel like Kanye really nailed like the singles extremely well. I definitely feel like these are great and they're easy going, executed well. Some new kind of vibes. Like I said, some of that more sophisticated kind of bookstore kind of vibes and more things like that, more graceful. But there's just not enough of those moments. There really needed to be more songs like New Godflow, that same type production to kind of get that sort of sophistication seen more. And some of these folks just didn't quite have that. So showcases weren't enough showcases of Pusha T, Big Sean, 2 Chainz, folks like that. So, but yeah, the social score I will give an 8. I definitely feel like 4 great singles that did well, 3 great club songs, 1 great kind of bookstore, sophisticated kind of song. So they just kind of had those kind of vibes where I feel like the execution was quite stellar in terms of singles, but this album just does not have very much beyond that. So this is something to understand. But in terms of the future, Kanye dropped an album called Donda 2, which I think you have to have like a special device to play. He did that back in February. He's been talking about stuff. There's going to be more Kanye on the way. We'll see what happens with it. But this is definitely a good example of an album that has some secret Kanye songs and things like that, but it's not a classic compilation, which some artists can do, but it's definitely worth getting, but it's not like a classic. I feel like that's kind of the concept there, but it's decent enough.